My gosh, this plant smells so good. The fragrance of this orchid is amazing. Anyway, welcome back to another video, and today we'll talk about where to buy a new orchid. Should you go to a supermarket nearby? Should you buy on an orchid nursery? Should you buy in a garden center or flower shop? So I will answer some of these, giving you some tips and some advantages and disadvantages of each option. At least that's what I noticed with my experience as well. Please share your experience down below. Let me know where you intend to buy your next orchid. This one I bought in a nursery, just to let you know. My gosh, the fragrance is really good. So, first things first, where is the first place that you can go and buy your orchid? The most available one, the cheapest option, and then you can usually go somewhere near your home. Not difficult, don't need to pay for shipping. That is supermarkets. I think in the US you call grocery stores here, we call supermarkets, or we have some little markets available as well. So supermarkets are great because you can just go there, you browse the orchids that are available. Usually the price is okay. It's not super expensive either. And as I told you, it's pretty easy, pretty affordable. You don't need to actually wait for it to be posted at your home. It's amazing if you want to give to someone with their first orchid or for birthday, Christmas, and some other occasions. However, usually you don't have a great variety of orchids in most supermarkets. Sometimes you need to keep an eye on some of those that will bring special orchids from time to time. And special here, I'm quoting, something that's not Phalaenopsis orchids. At least in my region, the most common orchids that we can find locally in supermarkets are Phalaenopsis. And usually the same type of Phalaenopsis, they are beautiful. I own a ton of them. But sometimes we want to experience with different orchids. Usually supermarket will not be the place for it. Something else is that not only you're not going to have a wide range of different orchids, but also people that are there working with these orchids, they are not orchid specialists. They are just working and doing their daily job, which is fair enough, but they might water this plant and cause some rot and cause some issues. So with supermarket orchids, it's highly advisable that you look into the orchid to notice if the orchid doesn't have a terminal spike, doesn't have a massive case of root rot, is not super dehydrated, doesn't have even pests. I've seen orchids in supermarkets that had insects munching on them. So what I would advise you to do every time that you go to a supermarket is just grab the orchid, take it out of the outer pot, check if it has roots, if the roots are green, and also check the roots, the stem of your Phalaenopsis, see if there is no black spots or things, or if the leaves are not all falling off, because you can have stem rot, crown rot. So it's really, really important that you look into the plant to know if the plant is healthy. If it is healthy, if everything that you want is just in your Phalaenopsis, or maybe some other orchids and the supermarket is selling it, why not? That's perfect. I used to go to many different supermarkets around, and from time to time, I found great Phalaenopsis and great orchids as well that were not Phalaenopsis locally. So it's always the first place that we go to. It's, as I said, the most affordable one. So it's just a great way to find orchids. Now let's talk about the second place. So now let's talk about garden centers. And when I'm talking about garden centers, flower shops are there as well, but flower shops are slightly different. I can just tell you a little bit more about it. But now let's focus on garden centers. So garden centers is more plant focused because we have a variety of different plants, but we also have outdoor and indoor plants, and you might not even find orchids there all year round. So that's one thing. Second thing is you might find different varieties of orchids if compared to supermarkets, which is amazing. So if you know a good garden center near your home, you can go to the garden center, visit, check to see which orchids they have in stock, and also you can ask the person who works at the garden center when they are bringing new orchids in. So you know where to look. But be aware that in garden centers, although people work with plants, maybe they are not super knowledgeable about orchids. Something else, The orchids will be usually priced a little bit higher than supermarket, so you might pay a little bit more. One tip that I give you for garden center is to always go to the discounted section. If you don't mind buying an orchid without blooms, that's perfect, because at the discounted section you can find different orchids for a very good price. So if you don't mind not knowing which orchid you will have, or maybe which type of blooms, that's a good idea, good thing to do. I've bought not only different generics, different perfume pedalums, all of them in garden centers at the discounted sections, because usually the full price is quite expensive. You can also find Vandas in this place, but again, can be quite pricey. So make sure that you do your research beforehand for you not to overpay for some of these orchids. However, it's a great place for you to see a variety of orchids that might not be super expensive if we count with shipping. And on top of that, it's also a place that you can find discounted orchids just waiting for the right season. So ask for the stock and check for it. But the disadvantage is not a place specialized in orchids, as I just told you, and might be more expensive as well. So just as a caveat here, it's very similar to flower shops. The difference is that flower shops usually is to sell plants locally, and they might be focused on flowers as well. Sometimes, from time to time, they will bring orchids in, but usually they are not specialized in orchids either. The orchids can be a little bit more pricey, but they might have a variety of orchids as well. Sometimes things that are a bit different from what we find in supermarkets. But if you have just a small flower shop, unlikely you will find different things locally, but you will also support a local business, which is always amazing as well. So you have to balance the things out, check for the varieties and what you are looking for. That makes a huge difference. I've got in flower shops different phalaenopsis. I got even dendrobiums and dendrobium phalaenopsis in flower shops as well when they were in bloom, even early eyeers. So keep your eyes peeled. It's always possible to find a wide range of different orchids, even locally, and you can also support your local business. And now let's talk about the last place, and this one is the only one that is actually specialized in orchids from all the lists and everything that I brought in. These are orchid nurseries. So orchid nurseries are places where they will grow mostly and mainly orchids. You have people that grow these orchids for maybe many years, and they are much more knowledgeable about the orchids that are growing, the types that are bringing in. They tend to also, sometimes the orchids can come with pests, but they had to treat pests as well, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to grow as many orchids as they have in their stock. On top of that, that's the place that you usually go if you want to buy different orchids, because not only they will have phalaenopsis in stocks and dendrobiums, but they will have a variety of different phalaenopsis. They will have species as well, and they will have a wide range of different orchids. So they are the place to go if you want something that's different, that's not the typical phalaenopsis that you buy locally or maybe in supermarkets or garden center. Not to discard the other options. Sometimes you find great things locally as well. So if you have time to do your research, go for it. But if you want an unusual orchid, some of them, they will never be in these places because they may not be mass produced. They might be only imported and exported on these specific places. The disadvantage here is, first of all, they are usually more expensive. They can be pricey because they are specialized, it's their business, and they are not mass producing, as I just told you. Second, you have to pay for postage, for shipping, because you usually buy from these places online. I don't have any local nursery in my area, so I always have to pay them to deliver it to my home. Or if you have time, if it's not super far, you can drive to the place and choose the plants that you want. It would be perfect. I don't have this option, but if you do, amazing. And the second thing, the plants are not be always in bloom. You go to this place to look for orchids. Some of them might be in bloom, but to look for different orchids and orchids that you want to grow inside your home and pay attention to them and experiment with different types of species or orchids and discover a new world, I would say. So take that into consideration, and let's just go to close this video. Now, just to conclude, what's the best option? I cannot tell you that. It depends on what you want, actually. If it's just your first orchid, go to a supermarket, why not? See something that you like and enjoy and bring it home and try to grow it, see how it does, do your research. Also, visit a local flower shop or a local garden center. You might find so many different things in there. But also, if you are growing orchids for a while and you want to experiment with different types of orchids, go to a nursery, visit the nursery, but also check for your budget. Don't keep buying a ton of orchids if you may not have money or the right budget for it, because we don't want people bankrupt because of plants. Don't think it makes any sense. We have to just make sure that we have time to look after them as well. So it's just places that we can definitely find new orchids from time to time, that we can spend our time looking at these beauties, getting to know them, growing them. And I think they are so lovely. I'm sure that all the time and devotion that I give to them, they also give to me in their own way. That's at least what I believe. It makes me feel so good to have them around. I think they bring the light to my life. So I'm not gonna go much further than that, just to let you know that it's always good. All of the options are great. As I told you, they all have advantages and disadvantages. Do your research, see what you need, and find the best option that works for you. And that was everything. I hope you enjoy growing your orchids. And if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, leave a comment down below. And I would love to hear from you as well. And without further ado, see you next time. Bye-bye.